Welcome all of you Bekes to the podcast Live to Battlefield. And today I want to discuss something in this Q&A session, topic close to my heart. And I didn't been asked by nobody to answer this question, but except to myself. Lately, I'm witnessing a lot of people failing in business and failing in life, and they want to go back where they started in their life. And what is that? That is their country of origin. There's a big difference between immigrant and being me. I never planned to come in Australia. I never have a desire to come in Australia in the first place. I come in Australia because my government sent me in 1998 in November. And I come in Australia as a part of Croatian Embassy in Croatian Embassy, Canberra, as a head of one service. So I come in Australia by knowing I'm going to stay here for the several years, and I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to be here in a way I always was planned, 4 years, I'm going to do my job in intelligence, in security, and after that, I'm going to make it myself back home in another country. That was my way of living. I accepted that after many years in military. I become spook, and that's it. However, most of the people come in foreign countries like Australia or Western countries like Germany, France, Great Britain, US, mostly because of the economical reasons. And one thing you must know, I was born in communist Yugoslavia, and no, I didn't have the ways to escape communism, at age 5 or 10 or 15. Instead of this, I was part of that lifestyle. And, I didn't know nothing better. When you're born over there, you don't know nothing better. But only difference it is that in 1991, I fought communism and to replace with democracy in ex-Yugoslavia, which we did in Croatia. And as I say, at that stage I was in the military, and in 1998 I was transferred to Australia. So I saw Australia as the most beautiful country on the planet, and still I believe it is. It's amazing people, it's a culture, everybody's nice and warm, and people, they don't know how lucky they are in this country. And this country is built on immigrants since Second World War. And as you know, Second World War, it was a very difficult period of the many European countries, and many European country people come to live in Australia and US because they haven't been unscathed, untouched by war as a European countries like France, like Germany, like Greece, like Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and list goes on. And I was wondering why the people in Australia are happy. A lot of immigrants work here hard all their life, and they build, all these big projects, the bridges, the dam, the railway network, and all this infrastructure, in Australia. It's just a very hard job. I admire these people. They need to tame this country because Australia, it's a huge island and very unhospitable. One side you have so many desert, on one side you have the oceans. So, but it's a beautiful country. And then I realized that most of my colleagues I know who are the immigrants, second generation. So they're not even born overseas. Their parents, they are. They like to bring their heritage in conversation when everything is okay. But now things go south. As you know, after the restrictions we had for 3 years, the lockdowns, and people are dying from the COVID and everything what they throw on us, the life doesn't go back into the shape and form we used to be know. And many people cannot adjust themselves to that new environment. But one thing I ask myself, being the immigrant in country like Australia or US, it can be very positive, it can be very negative. And there's a reason why being immigrant, not born here but come from other country, could potentially land something very successful. As I say, in late 70s and 80s, communist countries from Eastern Bloc, they opened the borders, literally opened the borders. As soon as the Gorbachev came on power, it was even more. So people could migrate. Late 70s to beginning 80s was a lot of changes, except maybe Romania was still tight, and there was called Poland was very tight. They were tight. Very, very tight. but most of countries people could go away, even from Russia, because Russia was consisted from 29 republics, and mostly control was being done from Ukraine towards the east, and other countries, the buffer, the countries like Latvia, Estonia, Armenia, and all these places, it's gonna be open more to Western society, so people could flee easier. Now, being the migrant, what's the benefits of being migrant, or what's the negative sides of being migrant? Negative side of being migrant is like I did. I come to Australia, I was a migrant, I come legally, and I've been accepted in society as a part of diplomatic corps, but I didn't know English, right? And people, you can't walk around and tell everybody, diplomatic community, look at me, 007. People perceive you as one of the migrants. Racism is the one thing people and discrimination, it's a big problem in any society. It doesn't matter if you're going in Croatia, people's gonna discriminate you and look different you because you're not Croatian. So it doesn't matter. Me being in Australia or somebody being in Croatia, that's across the globe. It's universal. People see you differently because native people in their country, they believe that they are better than anybody else. Is it true or not? Leave the comments below. So discrimination, because your language, your culture, your religion, racism, because of the color of the skin, and the list goes on. So that's one negative thing which can turn people off. And itself, I remember when I stayed in Australia in 2004, my very first job was a bouncer, and other days I was working as a steward in a hotel. Steward job was very unusual description of the job. Basically, you're the cleaner, cleaning the kitchen toilets, the service area, and mostly working with when you work in kitchen, working with all these acids and everything else. I need to clean this during the night for the shift in the morning, which is terrible. And I must say something that I was very, very upset and very sad that I'm doing this job. I believed I belonged to somewhere else. Well, reality is I decided to stay in Australia. So what I expected, that everything's gonna fall on front of me on their knees and say, welcome Mario, world is yours. I need to fight for this. So discrimination, racism, yeah. Expectancy, lack of social support. When you migrate in a new country, as I said, I was ready 4.5 years in Australia before I decided to stay. I see many people, they hardly going to adjust themselves. So what they decide to do, instead of exploring the new horizons, they go into community they belong. So if I'm Croatian, going to Croatian community, good luck. People love to be there, but don't expect you're going to move away from the culture you come away from. So this is something where they find themselves more accepted because based on their nationality, the religion and the background, to be in that environment where they are mostly those people they are, where they come from. So I say if I'm Croatian, come Croatian community. I decide not to do so. I decide to go hard with my life because I need to learn the language better. I need to learn the culture better. I need to learn how the people behave, how the corporate world works. So this is the things people will face, and that will be detrimental for many to return back where they come from, because what they're losing is one simplest thing, and that's what's the reason, what's the purpose you travel. Doesn't matter from where in this country, because once when you migrate, you're nobody. Nobody cares for you, nobody cares for your problems, and nobody cares what do you want. Because people have their problems, their life, their issues. They work hard for their position. Of course, nobody won't say, oh, welcome to this country, whatever country it is, and give you my job. It doesn't work that way. My father was working in Germany during the 60s and 70s. He was He was driving from Yugoslavia to Germany. He was trying to make more money for the family. But he lost all this money on the way back home. We don't know how. We never find out how, but many of those trips never brought the dime home. So people will travel, and he will work on a high-rise buildings as a welder, and he told me he will associate himself with the Croatians and other people there who are hanging around because they come from the same background. So this is the issue. Once when you become immigrant, you're going to face the challenges of the racism, the discrimination, the lack of support and everything else. It's normal. It's normal. You're just a new guy in a block. Remember this. Remember, you're just a new guy in a block. Think about this way. If somebody comes in your country and goes through the same process, yeah, it's going to be same problems. But what's the benefits of being migrant? Well, I have the three elements I isolated for this conversation. Number one, it's resilience. Why is that? Well, people who coming from age 15 plus, from let's just say in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they have a hardship, like I remember in the 70s, I was 8, 9 years old. I knew there was something's wrong with this place where I'm living, and everything is gray and everything is sad, and people are drinking a lot, and everybody just talking about my career. It's working in factory, and I should be grateful to, I was born to work in factory where I'm gonna die, and doesn't make a sense. But that is the life. But what immigrants bringing with themselves from the war-torn part countries, countries where the infrastructure is bad, where it's corruption, it's just name it. There is no health system. They bring resilience, and that is the biggest element of success of anybody. Resilience. Doesn't matter how life is difficult. Where you're coming from to something very, very horrific, something very bad, you're coming to something good, you're gonna be that person who's gonna succeed because you're resilient already coming here. So only can be better. Second reason why the people who come in countries like immigrants, like in Western countries, advanced Western countries like Australia, like US, like UK, just to name a few, it's motivation. Why do people migrate? Because they want a better life. And what they see, it's opportunity. It's opportunity to create something greater. They work harder. There's nobody can tell me that migrants doesn't work harder. They work much more harder. They take risks. I've been in the Middle East, and I'll tell you something. I saw in Middle East people from other parts of the world. They're working on these high-rise buildings. There's no security. There's no OHS, WHS. There's nothing. But they work hard all day. And then I'm seeing them at night. They all sit in this open type of the truck or the bus where everybody like a sardines sleeping on top of each other. And I spoke with some of them, and they say they rent one room, and about 20 of them, they live in one room. 10, 20. And I asked, why is that? He said, because if 10 of us rent one room, 5 of us work in day shift, 5 of us work in night shift, we save money. So we pay the one room, 10 of us, for the minimum cost. And secondly, when I spoke with some of these guys, so okay, how's the food? So they go in a temple to pray. So there's always some type of finger food. They say, we have this finger food. So imagine that determination, working on a 45 degrees plus on high-rise buildings without harnessing, without safety, without security, without nothing, living on a finger food in a room of 10. Well, that's called resilience. And that's called motivation, because that motivation for them is not being average Joe, but their motivation is like, I need to stay there longer because I need to send money to my family, wherever they are. And being migrant, I'll just want to share with all of you guys, don't be ashamed being migrant. Doesn't matter what you experience. You come for the reason, for the purpose in some country. You're motivated, you're resilient. Yes, you're going to face the racism. Yes, you're going to face discrimination. But you're not average guy. You are beyond average. You're the Avenger. You're the superhero. Living the cozy home. Doesn't matter is you have a best bed or worst bed. Do you have the best school or worst school? You coming from the cozy environment. Why? Because you have a family, you have a support. You understand the environment, you understand the social demographics as well. But once when you move from that I call the cozy place, doesn't matter how shitty it is, into a greater place, you're gonna just bloom like a flower. You're gonna be great because you're motivated, you're determined, you're a hard worker, you're taking the risk when most of people not do it. And that's why being a migrant, it's a good advantage for each of you to be successful. Don't be ashamed. Where you coming from? How do you look like? What are you praying? What are you eating? Be proud. It takes a lot of guts to leave the place, leave the family, kids, to go another country to work, to succeed. And I'm wishing you all the best. Feel free to subscribe, like, share, and comment down in the comment section below. And let me know, what do you think? Being a migrant, good or bad? Success or failure? Thank you.